Hi everyone, this is Eliza, and today I'm going to be talking about my cultural case study, and I did Jenny Chang. So, quick abstract, I will be talking about Jenny Chang and her life. Also, basically going over the stigma of mental health in Asian American culture, the barriers that they face, and how counselors can become more multiculturally competent to help treat them. These are my learning objectives that hopefully you guys will be able to pinpoint throughout the PowerPoint. And so we're going to get started with background information on Jenny Chang. So just looking at the picture really quick, Jenny is on the left and her wife Lisa is on the right. So she is Asian American Taiwanese. Um, she was born in San Francisco, so she was born here in the US and was raised in the US, but her family now live in Taiwan. She has two children with her wife Lisa, and she does identify as gay. And when she first came out to her family, there seemed to be some difficulties. They, I'm sure that there was support. I can't exactly say that there was not, but they immediately wanted her to move back to Taiwan because America had corrupted her. um, she's a very outgoing, active, and adventurous person. And she does have a great familial support, like I mentioned, especially with her wife and kids. Some background information continued. She worked for eBay for 15 years and was recognized for her community and corporate contributions. And then in 2012, Jenny and her wife traveled to 15 countries around the world to find the super gays that they called them. The super gays are, they describe them as individuals who were leaders in the movement for LGBTQIA plus equality in the developing world. So Taiwanese Asian American unique aspects. So they are a collectivist culture, emphasize family, maintaining respect, maintaining the like hierarchical power positions of the family. In Taiwanese culture, family reputation is everything. Um, it's the concept of face guides how family members interact with one another, and it can be impacted by the acts of each individual family member. And so they are encouraged to keep the interests of the collective in mind. One really interesting thing that I found was that many Taiwanese immigrants in the US call their heritage and culture baggage that they just like can't use here in the US. So they keep it like locked away. And I feel like that just brings more shame around Taiwanese or Asian Americans. So the population here, both the populations, as you can see, the Asian American population, which includes all of the Asian, countries and people in the US, is much higher than Taiwanese Americans. And the jobs that a lot of these people hold are in mathematics, computer, architecture, engineering, and then also many of them work in personal care services like hairdressers, nail stylists, and childcare workers. Asian American culture in regards to mental health. So there is a high stigma against Asian Americans. I mean, yeah, amongst Asian Americans towards seeking mental health services. It is crazy how high it is. Mental health is seen as a taboo. It is a subject that is not spoken about because you are seen as weak and just you're going against the family sometimes if you do disclose or try to seek out mental health help. Only about half of Asian American people seek treatment. So, from the statistics that you just saw of Asian America, are Asian American individuals. That means only about 12 million people out of 22 million get help. And COVID-19 has significantly impacted mental health amongst Asian Americans, and there's high levels of discrimination, violence, and hate. Counseling awareness. So we always must remember that mental health services are not always seen the same by different populations. So Asian Americans historically have had a reputation of reporting somatic symptoms instead of psychological. So that includes like their head hurts, their stomach hurts, just like their body aches. But when really we need to look at that and try to decipher what is possibly a psychological symptom. Amongst the LGBTQ IA plus community in China, it was found that there was immense sexual orientation based stress and perceived pressure to get married. And those just show to worsen mental health in individuals. We also must be aware of any biases, because if we go in treating a diverse client and we believe something that we didn't even know, we could take that out on them without even knowing, which impacts their treatment and us. So presenting problem. So it was a little difficult to choose a presenting problem for Jenny because there wasn't one to choose from, but I chose to do her first coming out. So like I explained earlier, she stated that when she first came out, her parents wanted her to come back to Taiwan immediately. It does seem that there's acceptance now and support from her family because her and her wife Lisa also live in Taiwan where her family lives. So I feel that they are probably very closely bonded. Except back then there was probably potential strain at that moment, which could have caused anxiety and depression. So the most prevalent mental disorders, above all else, the number one was anxiety disorder, anxiety-related disorders, excuse me, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, or age, like etc. And then for US-born women, Asian American women, it was mood disorders, and then men was substance use disorders. And there are so many barriers that impact Asian Americans from seeking treatment, and that's self-reliance, going to alternative sources first, lack of affordability, the stigma being one of the highest, and then burdening the family and others. So I chose to do generalized anxiety disorder. In the criteria, there's 6 criteria that you have to meet to qualify for it. And so these are the 6, and I just want to point out the third one. You have to choose 3 or more of the following 6 symptoms. And I have these written down, so I'm going to go ahead and just read them out. Restlessness or feeling keyed up or on edge, easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating, irritability, muscle tension, and then sleep disturbances. So if anybody meets all 6 of these, then they most likely have generalized anxiety disorder or GAD. Some appropriate assessments and considerations for GAD. So Asian Americans, again, report somatic symptoms rather than psychological. They might need further explanation of the diagnosis because they just don't understand it. They might be unwilling to accept it or possibly be offended to it. We just have to remember that counselors do their duty to be as multiculturally competent as possible. So in Jenny's case, since I could not find an exact period where she has severe anxiety or depression, we can just talk about the impact that these measures might have had on the anxiety that she, again, might have had. So it allows for clients to feel more comfortable and builds a therapeutic relationship. many Asian Americans are hesitant to seek mental treatment just because they feel that it will be automatically based on Western ideals. Jenny might feel much more comfortable with her therapist if they utilize culturally inclusive measures because it's incorporating her culture, her values, her beliefs, and not casting them aside. Theories and intervention. So two theories that have been shown to be that have strong support from researchers are the cognitive behavioral approach and humanistic approach. Two treatments associated with these are cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance commitment therapy. Many times, individuals with anxiety have the constantly racing thoughts, they may develop maladaptive behaviors due to those, and CBT helps basically reframe all of that. ACT is aimed to promote self-acceptance, self-autonomy. It helps the person develop mindfulness skills, and again practice self-acceptance. So continued, these could be very beneficial for Jenny when at the time that she was coming out. When someone is coming out, there's a consensus of a feeling of isolation, rejection, anxiety, and loneliness that could lead to severe anxiety or depression, or even worse, mental health issues. Challenging the negative thoughts and behaviors would be very important. And through CBT, again, we can reframe that thinking and develop alternate ways to think of it or cope with it. And then ACT might be beneficial just to help Jenny accept herself without the approval of others. So clinical mental health counseling, basically, like I've said before, we just have to be culturally competent. We cannot be ignorant to all of the diverse cultures that are around us. We will be dealing with different clientele on a daily basis. We will not know what kind of background they have. So we need to go in having at least a little bit of knowledge, always being able to, willing to learn, being open-minded, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to become comfortable, and avoiding assumptions. You can never assume that you know someone. That's definitely a big no-no. So that's the end of my PowerPoint. Thank you all for watching.